Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Beth Ann. It's been a very long time since I did a video focused on kids' books, and I've only done like two, but when I first started my channel, I thought that was something that I was going to do more of, because at the time that I started my channel, I guess my daughter, she was just turning 3. Yeah. She was like just about to turn 3, and now she's a little bit over 4 years old. She's 4 years old and 2 months. So that gives you some idea of the age group that I'm dealing with here. We've been in COVID quarantine a bit lately. We've had COVID and have been in quarantine, and so I thought I would just share some of the books that are really saving the grown-ups' sanity while we've been spending so much time at home in New York, where it's cold and we can't really do much outdoors. Okay, so let's start with the academic book. So I picked these up on a whim going into quarantine, and they've actually been amazing for my daughter. So these are a math activity book and a science activity book, and you can see it says pre-K on the top. My daughter knows like a fair amount of the information that's being presented in these, but in terms of like useful repetition and creative new ways of presenting it, I think that is very helpful. So I think it says ages 4 to 5. So I think your typical 4 to 5-year-old who's been in like a community daycare sort of situation, like my daughter has been in a Montessori school, but she's had sort of like peer-driven learning and some actual teaching since she was about 6 months old. So I think for like your average kid who's like 4 or 5 and has been in sort of a setting like that, they probably would already know some of the material in here. It's like counting to 20 and stuff. But the repetition and the way that they present it, like I said, is really cute. So they've got like one thing my daughter is struggling with is writing. So they have a lot of pages where you have to count various things. So here you're counting fingers on a hand, and then you're tracing the numbers. And so she's been really into doing things like that. And then they've got, on each page, it's like there'll be sort of a more like academic style activity, but then they've got like a cute little game where you're helping these little characters, fill in their little circus or something. And then every few pages, there's a craft activity presented that's like related to what the concepts have been. So this is one we actually haven't done yet. I guess the one that we did was in the counting to 20 section, and you had to make like 20 little stepping stones that you labeled with their numbers. And then you used like 20 popsicle sticks to make a little fence for a sheep pen. And so we made a whole little scene out of construction paper to house the stepping stones across a little stream and do the sheep in the pen and everything. So those are really cute. We haven't done as many of the crafts. We've done more of the writing and things. And then the science book is pretty similar. So instead of the math, like in the math book, there's a lot of focus on really understanding what sets are and categorizing things in sets according to various rules, which is very fundamental math. And so in the science, there's something similar to that. It'll be, here's a mix of pictures of plants and animals and people. And so you're supposed to identify, which things are more similar to each other and, which animals go together and things like that. And then there was like the craft that went along with that. So it's the same thing where they'll have these craft pages with a bunch of crafts you can do. We made paper chain snakes and like talked about snakes. So these have been really cute and fun, and she's been able to stay focused on them, which is wonderful. Okay, then getting into the actual books. So this is a huge series. We have The Dragon Masters. This is a chapter book series, but the reason that it works for my daughter is because there's still a picture on every page. So even though, like a chapter book is hard for her to pay attention to still, but with the pictures, she'll read each of these in one sitting, obviously with a grown-up. But yeah, this whole series is really cute. The basic premise is that there are these kids who are dragon masters. They're each given a little piece of a dragon stone that they wear in a necklace around their neck that enables them to communicate with their particular chosen dragon. There are also wizards, so the main band of kids lives in a castle with this wizard Griffith, and he sort of provides some oversight, and he communicates with other wizards, and there's often, I mean, there's always, you know, there's problems, and there's an evil wizard that they have to defeat, and so they sort of go on quests and do various things. So it is cute and well done. I mean, from an adult perspective, there are plot holes, as you would sort of expect. And the one thing that's gotten a little annoying now that we have like 20 of them is that the entire series does focus on one main protagonist, Drake, who is an 8-year-old boy. And even though he's part of this band of other kids, they all play supporting roles. And so I wish, especially with a series this long, it doesn't feel like it would be that hard, especially at a kid level, to develop the other characters and have some books that really focused more on them or allowed them to really take the lead role in the series for a book. Because even books that are sort of focused on, you know, another kid and his dragon, like Drake is still there playing like the main protagonist role with the, you know, the quest that they have to go on. So that's like my only critique, which is pretty minor. My kid loves these, and they have audiobooks as well, and we've been doing a lot of driving lately, going back and forth to my parents' house in Maryland, and she will just listen to like 4 or 5 of these in a row. The audiobooks are each about 45 minutes long and are narrated very well. So yeah, so we highly recommend these, kid tested, parent approved. And they only run like $5 or $6 each. I think when they're brand new, like each time a new one comes out, it's more like $7, $8. But especially to backfill, we started reading this series last April, and so we've picked up like a couple a month since then. And so yeah, at that price range, they're pretty affordable. And the audiobooks, same thing. When there's a new release, it looks like it's like $7 or $8. But if you're reading backwards in the series, each one is only like $5. I think the age range actually for these originally is, yeah, here we go. Appeals to 1st through 3rd graders. The reading level is grade 2. But at least our experience with our 4-year-old is that she really loves to listen to these. And again, I think that's really helped by the picture on each page. So, all right, almost done. I just wanted to talk about one other book series my daughter is obsessed with, which is the Unicorn Diaries series. We've only just discovered this. I overheard another kid talking about it in the library, and so we checked it out, and then she got some for Christmas. And these follow a little band of unicorns, including our main character, Rainbow Tinseltail. And so similar to the Dragon Masters, it's this little band that goes on quests and has adventures and solves problems. And these are cute. I mean, they're just whimsical. And they're written in the style of a diary. So they'll be on, I don't know if you can see, lined paper. And so we'll get Rainbow Tinseltail sort of writing in her diary, but then it's interspersed with sort of snippets of what actually happened. So we get little dialogue boxes and things like that. And so that variety is really nice, I think. And the art is just cute. I mean, it's just little unicorns. In this one, they're dealing with some dragons that are also very cute. So yeah, so again, we recommend these if they look cute for any other parents and kids out there. All right, so those are the 3 types of books that have been saving our sanity lately. Based on these books, if anyone has any recommendations for other things it seems like my daughter and my family might like, we are all ears, because my daughter is a voracious reader. So we sort of need to keep the variety coming, and we've got a good library with a big kids section. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.